We're finally here. It's Canadian Spring. Welcome. Welcome to Canadian Spring. Today we're filming from outside. If you don't like birds, you're probably going to hate this episode because there's lots of birds outside. Watch. I specifically chose this spot because I'm hoping we'll see some squirrels or birds coming right there. Anyways, let's get to the whole point. So as we know, there's a lot of channels out there geared towards gear reviews and kind of influencing us to pay more money and spend more money on musical equipment. So today I'm going to go over 5 of the worst investments that I've made in musical equipment. And I hope that I can save you some money and save you some lessons that I've learned the hard way. So number 1, I'm going to go with analog equipment. I had a studio for about 5 years before we closed it right after COVID. And a lot of the bad gear investments I made was in analog gear. I had a distressor, I had a summing mixer, I had a burl converter for my mixes, and I had a lot of other gear. And I think that I was using this gear as a way to make myself feel better and as a way to expect to get better musically. And it's funny that after I've sold all of my equipment, I've actually found that I'm way better at mixing now, because without relying on the equipment, I'm actually just relying on the knowledge right now, and I'm like forcing myself to use what I have to get a better sound. And obviously analog gear sounds good, it has a tone, it has all that, but it will never replace the actual knowledge, and it will never actually replace the techniques. And now that's what I'm focusing on. And it's much more important to get the techniques down than it is to have a really good distressor 1176. You can get plugins, there's so many plugins, I'm sure there's free ones that are decent. Whatever DAW you have has great stock plugins. I swear the Pro Tools EQ is one of my favorite EQs. And yeah, I remember I bought 2 different interfaces at one point so that I could have 16 ins and 16 outs. And I thought that this would allow me to send more gear out and get better mixes instead of focusing on the actual technique and proper EQ and actually really listening to things and working on it. So number 2, I'm going to go with buying multiple guitars in the same style. Obviously we know a Strat has a different sound, Telecaster has a different sound, Rickenbacker has a different sound, Hollow Body does. And there's so many guitars out there that it's kind of overwhelming. And it's to the point where, am I really going to write a better part because I have a single coil, or am I really going to write a better part because I have humbuckers? And a lot of this comes down to the pickup itself and not actually the guitar. And I think that I had at one point I still have a lot of guitars, I'll say that, but I had way too many. Right now, I've got rid of a lot of them. I've sold whatever I don't need, and I basically just have what I need. So I have my Strat, I have my Hollow Body, I have my Rickenbacker, which I rarely use, and I kind of don't want to sell because it's just a nice guitar. And that's basically it for my 6 strings, and then I have 2 7 strings. I have my Carvin, and I have my Acacia. And the Acacia sucks, but it sounds really good, so I use it. And then I have my 1 8 string. And that's all I need. I don't think I'll ever buy another guitar ever again because I don't need to. You don't need a Strandberg, and you don't need an Aristides or whatever the hell it is. I have 2 different 7 strings. If I want to get different feels, I'll go for one or the other. I have an 8 string, so if I want to go heavier, I just go with that. Use the guitars that you have, and I assure you, you will write good music. So number 3, I'm going to go with expensive speakers. When we had the studio, we went through 2 or 3 different expensive speakers, and they didn't really improve our sound because our room wasn't really catered for it. Like it was soundproofed. We built it with enough walls that it was supposed to sound better, but it just like there was a hollow spot. So we spent over $2,000 on a pair of speakers, and the room just wasn't good. So it didn't translate. And I found that when I was on tour with Northlane, I was actually using just headphones. And when I came home to listen to references in my car, in my studio, I was like, this sounds better than any mix I've ever done in that room. So you don't have to spend a crazy amount of speakers. Knowing your source is the best thing that you can do. So just whatever speakers you have, listen to all types of music on. Listen to the music and mixes that you want your mixes to sound like, and kind of just get acquainted with what frequencies you hear in your speakers. And then just replicate that with your mixes. Know your source, it's so much better. So number 4 is buying hardware synths and keyboards. And this is where it gets weird because I don't regret it at the same time as regretting it. I've spent way too much money on keyboards and synthesizers, and I've sold a few, and I've kept the majority of them. The thing is, like, nowadays there's so many synthesizers. Like, there's companies like Wave Alchemy, there's Splice where you can rent to own, like they have the Serum, and they have like Silent and other ones. There's just so many companies where if you have a MIDI controller, you can basically do everything that you want. And it's a tough one because I love the way that hardware synths sound. They definitely do sound different. And I often run my synths and my keyboards through pedal boards and get a different sound that I normally wouldn't be able to get in the box, or I'd have to use a bunch of different plugins, and they don't always get the same sound, and you can't physically mess with stuff while you're going. You have to automate it, and it kind of takes away a bit of the whole creative process. But you could save thousands of dollars by not buying hardware. Number 5 is a weird one, and it's kind of a general and broad topic, but it's buying anything new. The chance that you need whatever just came out right away and you absolutely need it is so low. You're way better off buying something used and saving the tax, saving a few $100s, and then you can take that money and you can put that money towards anything else. You could buy another piece of equipment, you could buy a nice lunch, you can go on vacation, you can not go in debt, or you can buy courses and learn more, which is way better. It's a way better investment to learn. Obviously with like plugins and stuff like that, you can wait until there's a sale. There's no used plugin kind of scenario, but with any equipment, just wait until somebody sells it. If you, for whatever reason, need it new, go ahead and get it. Just know that the second you leave the store, you've lost. It's worth 80%, if that, depending. Unless you have a Fuji X100V. So I hope that you learned from my mistakes and you will not do what I did and not go into debt buying equipment and buying things that you don't actually need and putting the time and resources into learning and actually honing in on your craft. So those are the 5 things that I regret buying and spending money on. If you want to see the 5 things that I absolutely don't regret buying and spending money on, check out the next video. If you found any of this useful, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe down below, and I'll see you next time. See ya. I don't know if any squirrels or birds came up here.
See you next time. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and if you found it useful, see you next time.